The board meeting that would transform the fashion industry began with Catherine Beaumont laughing at sketches drawn by a homeless 10-year-old, but ended with her scrambling to understand how an orphan with no formal training had revolutionized haute couture using nothing but discarded materials. Isabella Martinez sat nervously in the guest chair of Beaumont Fashion House's marble-floored conference room, her small hands clutching a worn portfolio filled with dress designs that would challenge everything the luxury fashion world believed about creativity, sustainability, and artistic vision. At 10 years old, she barely reached the height of the conference table, her dark hair neatly braided and her simple dress, which she had sewn herself from donated fabric scraps, standing in stark contrast to the opulent surroundings of Manhattan's most prestigious fashion empire. Before we get to this wonderful story, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the story. Catherine Beaumont, at 52, commanded the room with the authority of someone who had built a global fashion dynasty worth over $8 billion. Her platinum blonde hair was styled in a perfect chignon, her black Armani suit tailored to perfection, and her ice blue eyes held the calculating gaze of a woman who had survived 30 years, in an industry known for destroying dreams and crushing spirits. She studied Isabella with the same clinical detachment she applied to quarterly profit reports, seeing only an interruption to her already packed schedule. "Ms. Rodriguez," Catherine said, addressing the social worker who had insisted on this meeting, "I understand you believe this child has fashion potential. However, Beaumont Fashion House operates at the highest levels of luxury design. We simply don't have time for amateur hour." Maria Rodriguez, who had worked with New York's foster care system for 15 years, maintained her professional composure despite Catherine's dismissive tone. "Ms. Beaumont, Isabella's designs have caught the attention of several industry professionals. I thought you might want to see her work before making any judgments." Catherine glanced at her diamond-encrusted Cartier watch, calculating how much this interruption was costing her company in lost productivity. "Very well. 2 minutes." Isabella opened her portfolio with trembling fingers, revealing hand-drawn sketches that immediately captured Catherine's attention, despite her determination to remain unimpressed. The designs showed an intuitive understanding of proportion, flow, and aesthetic balance that typically required years of formal training to develop. "I drew these after watching people in the subway," Isabella explained in a soft voice that carried the careful politeness of a child accustomed to adult skepticism. "I noticed how different fabrics move when people walk, and how colors look different under artificial light versus sunlight." Catherine found herself studying the sketches with growing interest. The child's observations about fabric behavior and color theory demonstrated sophisticated understanding that many of her professionally trained designers struggled to master. "Where did you learn about fashion design?" Catherine asked, her tone shifting from dismissive to curious. "Nowhere special," Isabella replied. "I live at St. Catherine's group home. Sister Margaret lets me use the sewing room after chores are finished. Most of my fabric comes from donation bins or things people throw away." Catherine's assistant, David Chen, leaned forward to examine the portfolio more closely. As Beaumont Fashion's head of design development, he recognized exceptional talent when he saw it. "Ms. Beaumont, these proportion studies are remarkably sophisticated. The way she's addressed drape and movement shows intuitive understanding of advanced design principles." Catherine waved dismissively. "David, she's a child playing dress-up with donated scraps. This isn't serious fashion design." Isabella's expression didn't change, but she carefully reached into a small bag beside her chair and withdrew a folded garment. "I brought something I made last week. Sister Margaret said it might help explain my ideas better." She unfolded what appeared to be an evening gown constructed entirely from repurposed materials, silk scarves sewn together to create flowing panels, vintage buttons serving as both functional and decorative elements, and lace trim that had been strategically placed to create architectural structure within the garment's silhouette. The room fell silent. Even Catherine, despite her cynicism, recognized the extraordinary artistry before her. The dress demonstrated technical skill that would challenge experienced seamstresses, combined with creative vision that transcended traditional fashion boundaries. "You made this yourself?" David asked, his voice filled with genuine amazement. Isabella nodded. "It took me 3 weeks, working after dinner and on weekends. I had to figure out how to make the scarf panels support each other structurally, since I couldn't afford proper foundation fabrics." Catherine studied the garment with the critical eye that had made her one of fashion's most respected authorities. The construction was flawless, the design innovative, and the overall effect was undeniably striking. More troubling for her worldview was the realization that Isabella had achieved this level of artistry using materials that Beaumont fashion would have discarded as worthless. "Isabella," Catherine said carefully, "how many pieces have you created?" 47 dresses, 23 tops, and 15 skirts, Isabella replied with the precision of someone who kept detailed records, plus accessories and alterations for other kids at the group home. David exchanged glances with Catherine, both recognizing the prolific output that indicated serious dedication rather than casual hobby. "Do you have photographs of your other work?" Isabella pulled out a small, outdated digital camera with a cracked screen. "Sister Margaret helped me document everything. She said it was important to keep track of my progress." As Isabella scrolled through images on the tiny screen, Catherine found herself viewing a body of work that challenged fundamental assumptions about fashion, creativity, and resource utilization. Each piece demonstrated increasing sophistication, yet maintained a unique aesthetic that was entirely Isabella's own. The photographs revealed an evolution of skill and creativity that impressed even Catherine's experienced eye. Early pieces showed promise but obvious amateur techniques, while recent works displayed professional-level construction and innovative design solutions that addressed complex fashion challenges. "This jacket here," Isabella said, pointing to an image of an intricately constructed blazer. "I made it for Thomas, one of the older boys at the home. He had a job interview but didn't have professional clothes. I used old suit jackets from donations and reshaped them completely." Catherine leaned closer to study the photograph. The garment appeared to be a completely new creation rather than an alteration, with design elements that transformed outdated formal wear into contemporary fashion. "How did you learn these construction techniques?" David asked, his voice carrying professional interest. "YouTube mostly, and books from the library," Isabella replied. "But a lot of it was just figuring things out. When you can't buy new materials, you have to get creative about making old things work in new ways." Catherine felt a familiar stirring, the same instinct that had led her to recognize breakthrough talent throughout her career. But this situation challenged everything she thought she knew about where innovation originated. "Ms. Beaumont," David said quietly, "we need to discuss this privately." Catherine stepped into the hallway with David, leaving Isabella and Maria Rodriguez in the conference room. Her mind raced with implications that went far beyond a single talented child. "David, what exactly are we looking at here?" Catherine asked, her carefully maintained composure showing cracks of uncertainty. "Potentially the most innovative young designer I've ever encountered," David replied without hesitation. "Her use of repurposed materials isn't just creative necessity. It's a completely different approach to fashion that could revolutionize how we think about sustainability and luxury." Catherine felt the ground shifting beneath her understanding of fashion excellence. Beaumont Fashion House had built its reputation on exclusive materials, traditional craftsmanship, and designs that commanded 5-figure price points. Isabella was proving that extraordinary fashion could emerge from resourcefulness, creativity, and vision rather than expensive components. "The fashion industry is facing a sustainability crisis," David continued. "Consumers, especially younger demographics, are demanding environmentally conscious luxury. Our attempts to develop eco-friendly lines have been expensive failures because we've been trying to maintain traditional approaches while substituting sustainable materials." Catherine nodded, recognizing the commercial challenges they had encountered. "And you think this child has found solutions we've missed?" "I think she's never been constrained by traditional approaches," David replied. "She's solving problems from first principles rather than working within established frameworks that may be fundamentally flawed." Catherine returned to the conference room with her decision already forming, though she couldn't quite believe the words she was about to speak. "Isabella," Catherine said carefully, "would you be interested in spending time here at Beaumont Fashion House? Not as a student, but as someone who could teach us about your methods?" Isabella's eyes widened with disbelief. "You want me to teach you?" "Huh? I want us to learn from each other," Catherine clarified, surprising herself with the sincerity in her voice. "Your approach to design challenges conventional thinking in ways that could benefit everyone." Maria Rodriguez leaned forward with concern. "Ms. Beaumont, Isabella is still a child. She needs stability, education, and proper care. I can't allow her to be exploited, even with the best of intentions." "Of course not," Catherine agreed quickly. "I'm proposing a structured program that supports Isabella's education while providing mentorship and creative opportunities. She would maintain her residence at St. Catherine's, attend regular school, and work with us on a schedule that prioritizes her well-being." Over the following days, Catherine worked with Maria Rodriguez and Sister Margaret to develop an arrangement that would nurture Isabella's extraordinary talent while protecting her childhood. The program included private tutoring in fashion design history and business, hands-on experience with professional-grade materials and equipment, and mentorship from Beaumont's senior designers. "Ms. Beaumont," Sister Margaret said during their planning meeting, "I need you to understand Isabella's background. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 7. She's been in foster care for 3 years, and creating beautiful things has been her way of processing grief and finding hope in a world that has shown her considerable pain." Catherine nodded, understanding that Isabella's artistic drive emerged from deeper needs than career ambition. "Sister Margaret, I want to ensure that our collaboration supports Isabella's emotional healing as much as her creative development. Then you understand something that many adults miss," Sister Margaret replied with approval. "Isabella doesn't just make clothes, she creates beauty in a world that has shown her considerable ugliness. That's a gift that goes far beyond fashion." Isabella's first week at Beaumont Fashion House challenged both her expectations and those of the professional staff. Surrounded by luxury materials, state-of-the-art equipment, and decades of accumulated expertise, she initially felt overwhelmed by the sophistication of the operation. "All these beautiful fabrics," Isabella whispered to David as he showed her through the materials library. "I've never seen anything like this." "What would you create if you had access to any of these materials?" David asked, genuinely curious about how unlimited resources might affect her creative process. Isabella studied the options carefully, her small fingers touching silks, cashmeres, and exotic weaves that cost more per yard than most families spent on clothing in a year. "I think," she said slowly, "I would still want to use some recycled materials too. The expensive fabrics are beautiful, but they don't tell stories the way old materials do." The observation struck David as profound. Traditional luxury fashion emphasized newness, exclusivity, and pristine perfection. Isabella was suggesting that history, narrative, and transformation could be equally valuable aesthetic elements. During her second week, Isabella was introduced to Beaumont's design team during their regular creative meeting. The atmosphere grew tense as senior designers struggled to take seriously the input of a 10-year-old, regardless of her talent. "We're developing next season's evening wear collection," explained Rebecca Martinez, Beaumont's head evening wear designer. "The theme is contemporary elegance with classical influences." Isabella listened carefully as the team discussed their concepts, noting the emphasis on expensive materials, traditional construction methods, and designs that would appeal to their established wealthy clientele. "What if," Isabella said hesitantly, "instead of making new clothes that look old, you made old clothes look new again?" The suggestion was met with polite but dismissive smiles. "Isabella," Rebecca said condescendingly, "haute couture requires perfection. We can't use damaged or worn materials." "But what if the damage became part of the design?" Isabella persisted, "like when Japanese artists repair pottery with gold to make the cracks beautiful instead of hiding them." David's head snapped up with interest. "Kintsugi, You're talking about applying kintsugi principles to fashion design. Isabella nodded eagerly. Exactly. Instead of throwing away a dress because it has a tear, you could repair it in a way that makes it more beautiful than before. The concept sparked heated debate among the design team. Some dismissed it as impractical for luxury fashion, while others recognized its potential for addressing sustainability concerns while creating unique, high-value pieces. Catherine, who had been observing the meeting from the back of the room, stepped forward. Isabella, could you show us what you mean? Maybe create some examples? Over the following week, Isabella worked with a small team to develop prototype pieces that demonstrated her vision. Using damaged or outdated garments from Beaumont's archive, she created repairs and modifications that transformed flaws into features, turning conventional problems into design opportunities. This evening gown, Isabella explained, presenting her work to the full design team, had water damage that created an irregular stain pattern. Instead of trying to hide it, I emphasized the pattern with strategic beadwork that makes it look intentional and creates visual movement. The result was stunning. What had been a ruined $15,000 dress was now a unique piece that commanded attention through its innovative approach to incorporating apparent imperfections into overall aesthetic success. Rebecca Martinez, who had initially been most skeptical, found herself studying Isabella's work with growing respect. The technical skill required to make this look intentional rather than accidental is remarkable. She's essentially created a new category of luxury restoration. More prototypes followed, each demonstrating Isabella's ability to see potential where others saw only problems. A torn silk blouse became an intricate lattice design. A faded cocktail dress gained new life through strategic color blocking that incorporated the original fading as part of the overall pattern. Isabella, Catherine said after reviewing the complete collection, you've solved problems we didn't even know we had. This approach could revolutionize how luxury fashion addresses sustainability while creating products that are more unique and valuable than traditional manufacturing. The breakthrough came during Isabella's third week, when she presented a comprehensive philosophy that would transform Beaumont's approach to luxury fashion. Rather than focusing solely on expensive materials and traditional craftsmanship, she proposed a model that emphasized transformation, narrative, and environmental responsibility. Every piece of clothing has a story, Isabella explained to Catherine's senior management team. When you buy something new, the story is just about money and status, but when you transform something old into something beautiful, the story includes history, creativity, and hope. The philosophy resonated with Catherine in ways she hadn't expected. Throughout her career, she had focused on creating fashion that projected wealth and exclusivity. Isabella was suggesting that the most valuable luxury might be the ability to transform the discarded into the desirable. Isabella, what would a complete collection based on these principles look like? Catherine asked. I've been thinking about that, Isabella replied, pulling out her sketchbook to reveal dozens of detailed designs. What if we created a line where every piece tells the story of transformation? Vintage materials combined with modern techniques, damaged textiles restored to new beauty, traditional patterns reinterpreted for contemporary use? The designs were extraordinary. Isabella had managed to maintain Beaumont's sophisticated aesthetic while incorporating sustainability principles that gave each piece unique character and emotional resonance. Catherine studied the sketches with growing excitement. The collection addressed multiple market trends simultaneously: sustainability consciousness, desire for unique luxury items, and growing consumer interest in purchasing decisions that reflected personal values. David, Catherine said, what would be involved in developing this into a full product line? Significant investment in new processes and training, David replied, but the potential market response could be enormous. We'd be creating a new category of luxury goods that appeals to consumers who want both exclusivity and environmental responsibility. The decision to move forward with Isabella's vision required Catherine to take risks that challenged everything she'd built her career on. Traditional luxury fashion depended on controlling every aspect of production to ensure consistent quality and exclusive appeal. Isabella's approach embraced variability, uniqueness, and the unpredictable results of working with reclaimed materials. "Isabella," Catherine said during their planning meeting, "developing this collection will require you to work with our production team, train our seamstresses in your techniques, and help us scale your individual artistry into a commercial process. Are you ready for that level of responsibility?" Isabella considered the question with the seriousness that characterized all her responses to adult concerns. "I think so, but I want to make sure we don't lose the heart of what makes this work. Each piece needs to feel like it was made with love, not just manufactured efficiently." The statement crystallized Catherine's understanding of what made Isabella's approach revolutionary. Traditional luxury fashion emphasized exclusivity through expense and limited availability. Isabella was proposing exclusivity through genuine uniqueness, pieces that couldn't be replicated because they emerged from the specific history and character of individual materials. Over the following month, Isabella worked closely with Beaumont's production team to develop processes that could maintain her artistic vision while meeting commercial requirements. The collaboration challenged both the child's idealism and the professional's established methods. "The problem," explained Sandra Williams, Beaumont's head of production, "is that Isabella's techniques require individual judgment calls that are difficult to standardize. Each reclaimed material has different properties and limitations." Isabella nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe that's not a problem. Maybe that's what makes each piece special. When you buy one of my dresses, you know it's the only one like it in the world." Catherine recognized the marketing potential of guaranteed uniqueness in a luxury market increasingly concerned with authenticity and individual expression. "Sandra, what if we structured the production process to embrace rather than minimize variability?" The solution emerged through combining Isabella's artistic vision with Beaumont's manufacturing expertise. Rather than mass production, they developed a system of guided artisanship where skilled seamstresses worked with reclaimed materials, using Isabella's techniques to create limited collections of genuinely unique pieces. "Each seamstress becomes an artist," Isabella explained during a training session she led for Beaumont's production staff. "You're not just following a pattern, you're collaborating with the material to discover what it wants to become." The approach required retraining staff and developing new quality control standards, but the results exceeded everyone's expectations. Test pieces demonstrated both artistic excellence and commercial viability, creating products that commanded premium prices while addressing growing consumer demand for sustainable luxury. As Isabella's first month at Beaumont concluded, Catherine reflected on the transformation that had occurred not just in her company's approach to fashion, but in her understanding of where innovation actually originated. She had built her empire by following industry conventions and established definitions of luxury. Isabella had proven that the most valuable breakthroughs could emerge from necessity, creativity, and the courage to question fundamental assumptions about what was possible, necessary, and valuable. The New York Fashion Week presentation of Isabella's debut collection was scheduled for the following month, setting the stage for the fashion industry to witness what happened when visionary artistry met commercial sophistication. Catherine understood that they weren't just launching a new product line. They were proposing a new definition of what luxury fashion could become in a world increasingly concerned with sustainability, authenticity, and social responsibility. The 10-year-old girl who had walked into Beaumont Fashion House carrying hand-drawn sketches and impossible dreams was about to prove that the future of fashion belonged not to those with the most expensive materials, but to those with the most innovative vision and the courage to transform discarded possibilities into treasured realities. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.